Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the StarCraft 2 Not World Championship Series. That is dead and buried with a hatchet in its skull. We are here for the ESL Pro Tour. I'm Nathanias, and we are starting to get into the good rounds. Of course, we had great rounds prior, but I'm not going to lie, I'm very excited to be bringing you this Terran versus Protoss best of 3. In the bottom left, we have the red Protoss representing Team Liquid, winner of WCS Krakow, the Polish Protoss. He is Mana. He faces off against the young Terran boy who has been clapping fools so hard, people are starting to think that maybe Terran is finally balanced for the foreign seat. He's single-handedly carrying this race outside of Korea. He is Liquid's Clem. Very, very, very fantastic Terran player. And if you're watching this right now, I would highly suggest making sure to take some notes, try and see if there's anything that you can learn from this man, because he is, I mean, he's the guy. He's our guy now. If you're on the foreign Terran hype train, like I always try to be, he is now our guy. Now, Mana is still a very fantastic Protoss player. And funnily enough, around the time when I started commentating StarCraft, I think Clem must have been like 7 or 8 years old. I don't know. I have honestly no idea. But he's definitely one of the younger players. Mana, he's been playing and grinding in StarCraft for so long. He's even past the point where we saw actually some of his success in WCS, even as early as within the last year or two, after having such a long and illustrious career. Mana's good at being tricky. He is an incredibly intelligent player, is how I would describe his play style. And he will throw things at you. He can play the straight up good macro games. It's definitely an area where both of these players are strong. But what I'm trying to tell you is that they're both strong in the aggressive spots as well. Now, Clem seems to have found one small place here where he could build. Can you build something here? No. Okay. I was going to say, I don't think you could actually fit something there. So he's going to bring it over to the top side of this mineral patch. So he has gone for the Reaper Expand with the factory and the reactor follow-up. Did not build the one Marine afterwards. So what it's going to be is possibly proxy starport with a Hellion drop is what I'm starting to think. So he'll probably build 4 Hellions. He could build just 2 and maybe swap back off, try to do something else, and maybe build a Liberator or a Banshee. But typically speaking, this is what Terran players do for early harass against Protoss. They want to get the 4 Hellion drop into the main. A lot of Protoss, if they think you're doing this, they wall off the front so you can't just run Hellions inside. And that's really where the big strength of this build comes in, is then you don't have something here. 4 Hellions get unloaded in this dark corner. All of a sudden, you lose 10 probes, and then Clem says, well met, with about 30 Marauders, 40 Marines, 10 Medivacs, and all you have are a couple of beta slow zealots and some blink stalkers that crumble when breathed on by Marauders. So there's the medevac. The Hellions are coming out, so you better get this party started. And now he's going to build I assume, a defensive siege tank just to be safe. Yeah, defensive tank, get some Marines. Most Protoss players in this metagame go for blink openings. Blink Robo. Parting has popularized going for Cybercore before Nexus and a late third base versus Terran and just using tons of blink stalkers to beat them to death. Clem's just going to send the starport home. Now let's see, does he have vision of this spot? Mana's moving his stalkers at possibly the perfect time. There you go. There's the Hellions. Now, it's actually better for the medevac to soak the damage if they can. You really just want to kill like 8+. If you get 8 or more probes here, I think you're really happy. So 8 probes in the main is fantastic because now the worker count is even. And when the worker count's even, Terran makes more money because they have, mules. So with the ability to get that extra mining from the mules, and it actually gives you a little bit of leeway if you don't want to use your mules. If you're making more money without them, you don't necessarily feel the same level of pressure to drop your mules immediately. And that can afford you the ability to get scans down on observers and other things. But Terran now at 36 to 34 workers. This has been about as perfect of a start of a game as you can ask for if you're Clem. For a Terran, you usually end up being that about that amount of workers behind, about 7 to 9. So you absolutely want to make sure that at all times you give yourself the opportunity to make those plays. And that's why every Terran player, for the most part, when you do this Reaper Expand, you're going to see the mine drop, or you're going to see the Hellion drop, or even the now popular armory mine drop The most recent patch didn't really change too much for Terran versus Protoss. The shield battery buff, of course, is also always going to be useful defensively speaking. In this case such as that, you're trying to stop like a big Terran all in. But outside of that, it's really just the armory, I think, that comes to mind. The armory. If you get the armory, you don't have to research drilling claws to have your mines be cloaked while burrowed. So basically, if you know that your Protoss opponent doesn't like to build a robo at the start of the game because they're very used to Widow mines being revealed after they shoot, then going for an armory while your medevac heads out will allow those Widow mines to remain cloaked after shooting. And your Protoss opponent, who was so greedy to skip detection, may end up dying. Now, of course, we know that's not mana. He's got a very good setup. He's moving into Colossi, Extended Thermal Lance, adding his gateways. Presumably, we're going to see some forges soon. The third base is at a pretty good time. This definitely looks like a 2-base push that's going to be coming out of Clem. And it's not uncommon to see this type of stuff out of Terrans versus Protoss, just because you've done so much damage already. Like, he might build the third on location here, but this could even be bait for, like, the Observer, you know? There's definitely a big opportunity for him to just take his SCVs and just try and push across the map. Frankly speaking, there's one Colossus. There will be a second by the time he gets there. So he builds the third, and I don't mind that at all. But he wants to do a lot of damage with this push. All those workers he killed at the start of this game are going to have a massive impact. And this shield battery is going to end up being really important, too. I feel like you want to have one at each base. You want to make sure that if he goes for the natural instead, that you can actually deal with that. But it is going to be this third. Mana sees the army. He's trying to poke with the stalkers. His range is almost done. He needs another 25 seconds for Extended Thermal Lance. These Colossi are pretty much useless until range is ready, because the siege tanks, well, we all know they got that range, 13 of it. And he's trying to get closer and closer to this base to where the shield battery is. He could overcharge the shield battery, but it's a 60-second global cooldown. He can't just cast it on all of his batteries. There we go. He's trying to heal up this force to keep it alive now that the Colossus range has finished. He's starting to push back the army just a little bit, keeps the stalkers alive. That's very important. You don't want the bio to get dropped onto you. And that shield battery, we really get to see the defensive use of it here to keep that third rocket and rolling versus the Terran opponent. And now he's going to get the forges, so definitely the concern there from Mana was whether or not it was going to be one of those really big pushes where Clem maybe brings his SCVs, and at that point, having gotten forges would have probably left him with not enough to defend against this attack. So definitely can't complain there. And honestly, I really like the strategic recall. I think it's, I really like the battery overcharge. I think it's an interesting ability. I think there's a lot of stuff that you can do with it. However, you got to be careful, because when you have this many stalkers trying to defend against the drops and 4 medevacs hit the main, Clem so aggressive. I feel like I'm watching WCS America 2015 Pult just bringing in big drops onto these bases. And he did kill a lot of the stalkers, but since it is a stalker Colossus army, it's a tough spot to be in. I haven't really talked about this too much, but between you and me, guys, I think these maps are pretty good for Terran. I actually think this is one of the best Terran map pools we've had in a long time because of stuff like this. This is one of the first maps that we've had in several seasons where you can just pretty much fly safely outside the range of your opponent in their main, by their natural, their third, and even outside here towards the fourth, you can kind of tuck yourself, including this giant open expanse in the top left and bottom right corners. Obviously, a prism benefits from this as well, but usually the loss of an empty prism is a lot less than the loss of like one full medevac, if that makes sense. So you don't want to lose these medevacs. It's definitely going to need to force the stalkers to move away somehow, because Mana would be a fool to let this many units get away. So he's going to need some distraction. He's going to need a little bit of trickery. Now, by the way, good observer placement. He's got eyes on the army to some degree. He can see that the Vikings are chilling here. As long as the Vikings are at home, you should have some degree of confidence, because while there may be drops moving out, the Vikings all being outside the base would be a sign that maybe you're about to get, like, you know, like a 3-base SCV pull. And obviously being able to see the third base helps with knowing whether or not that is even on the table. This is risky though, right? Because all the medevacs are stuck in the corner. So how do we get all the units? Well, honestly, Nate, does he have any vision here? Does he see this coming? I don't think he knows. If the stalkers aren't here and 3 Colossi are just exposed like this, he actually could possibly kill all of this before he gets a chance to react. EMP the sentries and an immortal. Not bad, but he needs to open this. Okay, there we go. These medevacs finally make their way out. This is the danger, because how does he defend against now the 4 medevacs again in his natural, while also trying to hold the front here? Gets another EMP on some stalkers, takes all the shields off one Colossus. He's going to try and focus them down. Oh, gets one. There's that overcharged shield battery doing its best to keep this unit alive. So he moves that back because he's happy to sit here, kill the Nexus. I assume he's going to try and lift up and bounce over back towards the main base. Now, one full medevac does get killed. The other one also. So a single Marauder will get dropped and killed. Now, actually, the Mana did a really good job cleaning this up. He did lose the Nexus, but I thought he was going to lose all of his Colossi and possibly the game on this push. We know that Clem is an extremely strong Terran player, so Mana holding on really well. And we talk about downsides of some of the decisions that were made. He does have a second starport, but he lost a lot of medevacs. He's got 10 Vikings. You losing the medevacs is definitely risky. It's really important that you keep a good count of both. Was this just a single Marine harass? He just ran in there screaming butt naked, and now well, his butt's still moving. So there's the scan. Stalker Colossus. Nothing crazy. There's nothing unusual here. In fact, he hasn't even really gone for Storm. He did get a Templar Archives. He has an Archon. But for all intents and purposes, this is a bunch of blinky boys and some big lasers. Some big mother trucking laser beams. So, for Clem, he's already rounded out his army composition pretty well. I'd like to see him get... I was about to say, I'd like to see him get the EMP upgrade. There it is. I promise. I can't see into the future. I cannot see into the future, but there you go. There's the EMP upgrade. That one, very important, very useful to have. As these stalkers kind of peruse the map. We got a couple Marines over here fighting a Zealot. Zealot's a thick, chunky coastal boy, though. He's not going down without a fight. He moved this observer back a little bit, too, right? He didn't build a turret there, but he just wants to have a vision on, like, the rally point. So seeing this tells him, he's like, ah, yes, your army must be heading in this general vicinity. Stalkers, I assume, are going to try and grab a kill or two. Oh, right outside that vision of the scan. So there was a window here to grab. So, oh, that blink! With concussive shells. Okay, bleeds out quite a few stalkers. There's the battery overcharge. And Clem says, is he going to go for it? I mean, it can only heal one unit at a time. It is a super shield battery, but it cannot heal everything all at once. This observer, by the way, he's got full vision of that Terran army, dodging the scans beautifully. Well, now the Colossi are coming back. The disruptors are out. This is a pretty big opportunity. Oh, Clem moving through that choke point's very dangerous. He did get the energy off the sentry, but is there enough space? Oh, the prism with the... Okay. Well, the prism does buy the Colossus a couple extra seconds on its life, but the Marauders need to get onto the Stalkers, but the Disruptor pushing him back. Even if the Disruptor doesn't kill anything, most of the Vikings do get taken down, but the Colossi are all now dead. However, a big Disruptor shot right there from Mana opens things up a little bit. He doesn't have the cooldown. He needed just a little more time before he could shield battery charge again, but Clem takes game number 1. Fantastic start to this best of 3. Holy that was awesome. Whoo! Give me the lobby. Give me that lobby. Everdream for game number 2. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're loading into game number 2 here after a pretty back and forth, non-stop, action-packed first map. On the bottom left, we have Liquid Mana holding on against his teammate in the northeast, Clem, who brought a pretty devastating Hellion drop harass to the start of this series, putting himself pretty far ahead, honestly. If you're able to kill, I'd say almost any opener, like 6 is the minimum for you to be happy. 4 is like, I almost broke even. More than 6, and you're absolutely, like your goal is 8. You're like, if I can kill 8 or more probes, then I'm fantastic. Because usually at about that 6-7 minute mark, you're going to see a Protoss player at like close to like 50 probes and the Terrans at like 40. But Mana's cannon rushing him. So, you know what? Apparently, none of my analysis is going to matter in this map. Let's see what the hell happens here. So Clem is about to get cheesed. He's bringing out the cannons. He's bringing out the cheddar. He's rolling that big old wheel of cheese. And guess what? Inertia is a cruel mistress. So if he can get any momentum at all, this wheel of cheese is going to be so heavy. I am not sure that even Doug Dimmadome could stop it. So there, pylon on the high ground, 2 cannons on the low ground. Bunker does start. We have a Marine on the way. SCVs are trying to come down and interfere with the photon cannon building process. One of the probes does get picked off. He does have a gateway also building in the backside, so he's also probably trying to go for that follow-up contain with the Stargate. Now, 3 SCVs per building cannon is enough to defeat the cannon. However, with the timing delay of when it was pulled and pushed, he may not actually be able to get that damage done that he was looking to do. But the SCV is actually soaking hits. The 1 Marine is able to stay alive. However, Mana's not going to give up just yet as his cannons continue to push and pull. But I think with that 1 bunker, with 1 Marine inside, it could end up giving him the edge that he needs. He's going to rally out a Zealot. That cannon does have to get canceled. So with this, he can at least work away at the wall. But honestly, I think usually as a Terran player, if you can get the bunker up and stop cannons from being built inside your main base, you're pretty happy. This Marine getting the probe would be huge, and he does pick it off. So he can build the Cyber Core at home, but he's not going to have a probe on the other side of the map to try and do anything funky. Like, the most common thing that we usually see is Stargates, right? Usually you get a Stargate put up, you build a Void Ray or 2, while you get a Fleet Bacon, and then, well, what goes best with bacon? You get the maple syrup, aka Tempests, and you drizzle it all over your opponent's face until they die of diabetes because there's too much sugar, and it overloads them, and it's bad. Don't consume too much sugar, guys. Tempest rushes are like trying to eat a whole box of Pop-Tarts in one go. You know, you pretty much just die right after. You gotta be careful. Of course, that's not what we're seeing in this game. Side benefits of how this ended up, though, he can phase adepts inside the main, right? He doesn't actually have anything that can really fight against this. The Hellion will be out soon, but he's got a Zealot and an Adept, so the Marines won't be particularly useful here. Having to pull the SCVs hurts. He does not make it back. And this, oh boy, well, he's got a Reaper. We have a professional Terran player with a Reaper inside of a Protoss base that has nothing in it. So, is he recalling the Zealot? Okay, he recalled the second Adept, which is fine too, I suppose. He just needs to keep the Adept alive to have vision for the cannon. But this Reaper is already going to be a massive... Oh, that block! Okay, that was pretty good. There's the Robo. Warp Gate is a little past halfway done. And for all intents and purposes, Clem is actually still on 1 base. So if he does not break out and deal tremendous damage back to Mana, he's in deep doggy doo-doo. He's got 3 Hellions. There's the medevac. This is a very crucial moment because he starts this command center. Now, does Mana have the awareness? Is he going to be able to deal with this attack? He has the cannon anchor, Tech Lab Factory, Tech Lab Starport, but there's nothing at home. He doesn't have anything. The Robo's done. Twilight's starting. Warp Gate is not ready. He doesn't have any gates at home. I think the game's just going to end right here. I do not know what he's going to do against... I'm pretty sure these Hellions are about to kill every probe he has. Like, Mana's in a good spot if he doesn't take damage from this. But how the do you not take damage from 3 Hellions on a naked probe line? 3 Hellions in an open field, Ned! In an open field! Yeah, that's about what I thought would happen. I mean, the Adept's killed some stuff. He has the Stalker here, but a Cyclone's about to pop. He's going to have Cyclone. He can pull SCVs. And there's only one race that can play this game with no workers, ladies and gentlemen. Hint, it's not Protoss. Clem takes the series 2-0.